So tonight's collective healing event is about managing fear and anxiety. So when we think about anxiety, it can run from the gamut, just from some nagging thoughts to a full-blown panic attack. So there's this whole spectrum of the fear response. And fear is often experienced as a feeling in the body, but it always starts in the brain. So we're going to start this event with just a little conversation about neuroscience and kind of the science of fear and what's happening in the brain, what's happening in the nervous system, what's happening in the body, and talk a little bit about the biopsychosocial lens that neuroscience is teaching us how the brain works and how it responds to pain, how it responds to fear. So we'll talk a little bit about that. And then I'm going to walk you through a guided meditation, kind of a contemplation and a breathing exercise, nothing complicated, that'll hopefully will give you some relief from whatever is active in your system at this time. And then we'll close with a cognitive behavioral therapy technique for working with panic attacks. So that's going to be our flow for this evening, but let's go ahead and jump right in. So I'm going to start with teaching you Daniel Siegel, who is a neurobiologist. This is his hand model of the brain. Okay, so up here, this is like your brain, if it's going this way. This is your prefrontal cortex and your right and left hemispheres of the prefrontal cortex. And then underneath we have the amygdala, and then that's the midbrain. And then we have the brain stem, which is associated to the nervous system. So when something happens, there are two different kinds of fear stimulus. Or threat stimuli, right? So the first one is a real threat, like a predator or someone breaking into your house. There's real immediate danger, okay? And the other kind of stimulus is something that's perceived. It's fear that's perceived only through the cognitive. And that means that it could be a scary thought or a scary idea or a scary conversation that you're having, but something can stimulate or trigger that amygdala. Okay, so when a threat stimulus happens, whether it's real, like a predator, or perceived, like a scary idea, this triggers the fear response in the amygdala. Again, that's the midbrain. This is associated to our emotions and our feelings. And it activates the fight or flight response in the sympathetic nervous system. So we have all these things that happen in the body. There's a list of like 27 things. Pupils dilate, heart rate accelerates, surface temperature of the skin goes up, the blood rushes toward the extremities so that you could fight or flee, like run if you have to, or punch. There's all these different things that happen, but what they make us feel not very good. They make us feel tense and anxious. And sometimes if those thoughts, if that cognition keeps going, if the conversation, the scary thought keeps going, then we can get locked into this sympathetic rhythm in the nervous system. And that can lead to, well, let me back up. So when the amygdala triggers the fight or flight response, it also triggers the release of stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline. So cortisol, if we have it in excess, so if we get locked into this sympathetic nervous system, like if we are in chronic states of stress or chronic states of anxiety, then the retention of cortisol can cause us to actually gain weight around the midriff. It's like we just start to protect around the belly. And one of the things we're going to do in our meditation tonight is we're going to practice cultivating a soft belly, a non-defended belly. But that's what happens is cortisol has us to retain this extra cushion around our abdomens to protect us. So fear is always a protective mechanism. It's always a response that's trying to protect us from danger, trying to get us to run, or trying to get us to fight. And that's how it does it. It protects us. The other thing that gets triggered is the adrenal glands. So we get this release of adrenaline. Now, again, if we're in chronic states of stress or chronic states of anxiety, and we have a lot of adrenaline being released, then what can happen is the adrenals can get fatigued. And what that can cause us to feel depressed, exhausted. We might go to sleep and wake up and still feel tired in the morning because the adrenals have been taxed chronically. So we want to work with the fear response. And the good news is that we can. So the first thing I want to talk about is the biopsychosocial lens, which is there's this kind of unique evolutionary, and it's really fascinating way that human beings learn that other animals don't, and that is through instruction. We can actually learn fear from the spoken word or even from reading it. Like if you read a note or you read a Facebook post or something like that, you read it and it can trigger this response in us. So it, like an example is like if a sign says that there's a dangerous dog, like beware of dog, if you're in proximity to that dog, it's going to trigger that fear response, even if the dog is behind a gate or a cage. So there's this contagiousness with fear. So my first challenge for you here in the next couple of weeks, and maybe even further than that, is to be careful what you're listening to, be careful what you're reading, and be careful what you're talking about. Because again, when we think about scary things, we put our minds in that place. The brain doesn't know whether it is a real threat, like a predator, or whether it's a perceived threat, like we're talking about something that could happen in the future, anxiety about what might happen, not necessarily what's happening right now. So that's my first little piece on how we're going to manage fear. I'll personally share with you that I have taken Facebook off of my phone for a period of time. I just needed to have less interaction with reading things that brought up this fear response. Every single day, the news is telling us something that's scary and people are talking about it. And I get hooked into those conversations sometimes. So I know that one way that I can help manage this chronic adrenaline coming into my system is to back away from talking about, reading, and even listening to things that trigger that response in me. So the next thing that I want to share with you is about how we manage fear. And largely that takes place through the perception of control. So when we feel out of control, we feel afraid or anxious. So when we're in control, we have a lot better response to fear. So, and when we overcome the fight or flight response, like if it gets triggered and you actually work with it in the way that I'm going to teach you to do tonight, then you can actually be left feeling quite satisfied and reassured of your safety and more confident in your ability to confront things as would that initially scare you. Okay, so one of the ways that we can regain control is through this meditative process I'm going to walk you through here now. And then at the end, another way that we can regain that sense of control is if we have tipped from just anxiety into a full-blown panic response, then there is a wonderful way that we can regain control, kind of separate our identity from the one who's having the response. And so that is what we will end with this evening. So then I'll ask you to go ahead and sit back in your chair or wherever you're sitting. And if you are sitting in a chair, I'd invite you to have your feet grounded flat on the floor, not crossed. You want a direct connection with the earth. And if you're sitting in a meditative seat, elevate your hips so that they're a little bit higher than your knees if you're sitting cross-legged, but do feel a grounded connection with the earth, either through your feet or through your legs or knees. So we'll just take a second to get settled in. And you could even like lean back, like you don't have to have a perfectly erect spine for this practice. If you're in a reclining chair and a couch, it's totally fine to just be as comfortable as you can be. That's really, really important. For the next 15 minutes, 20 minutes or so, just be comfortable, okay? So make any final adjustments that you need so that you can be as comfortable as possible. And when you settle in, find a comfortable stillness. And I'm going to invite you to close your eyes. And become aware of your body. and the space occupied by your body. Aware of the large, huge planet underneath you, the ground that you stand on, sit on. So I'm aware of myself on the earth, connected to it, grounded to it, fully present as I breathe in and breathe out. And the first thing I'm going to ask you to do is bring your awareness to your abdomen. And just notice the flow of breath there, expanding and contracting. One of my favorite spiritual teachers, Stephen Levine, talks about how all the things that have frightened us, our frustrations, our angers, our disappointments, our hurts, all of these things that cause us to need to protect ourselves, cause us to harden the belly. Years and years of protecting. And certainly when fear is present, anxiety is present, we tighten the abdomen. So the first thing we're going to do is just take a few moments to intentionally soften the belly. Try to loosen the effort in the inhalation. Loosen the effort in the exhalation until it feels like you're melting layers of tension from the abdomen. Kind of like peeling layers of an onion, just little by little. You soften the belly, you dissolve, you soften. Right now you're safe. There's no need to protect, no need to defend in this moment. Soften the belly. Stephen says, have mercy on you for all the fear, all the uncertainty. Have mercy with a soft belly. Just witness the breath breathing itself as it moves the belly, melting the hardness. So soft belly gets to become our foundation of self-control and regulation. You start to notice when certain emotions arise, when fear arises, anger arises. We notice that the belly hardens. We start to notice it throughout the day. Just take it to a soft belly, whatever it is, take it to a soft belly, let it melt in your mercy. Have mercy on you. Soft belly is the foundation from which we'll move forward in this practice. So take just a few more breaths as relaxed in the abdomen as you can. When we have a soft belly, it's easier to access the observing consciousness, the witnessing mind. So I'm going to ask you to tap into that observer now. Almost as if you're someone outside of yourself, kind of looking into the inner field of your mind and body and emotions, somewhat distant, somewhat detached, present and aware, but a little separate. Calm and curious, soft belly. Compassionate witness. I'm going to ask you to watch your own mind as if you're watching television. What concerns have been there? What fears? What's made you anxious lately? Again, just observe and notice the response in the belly when you think about these things that are frightening. So be aware of it, what I'm afraid of, what I'm concerned about, and then take that and melt it into soft belly. Sometimes this is challenging. Sometimes it's not enough. So we need to become a witness of the body, not just the thoughts. So again, as you're thinking about these things that are frightening to you or you're concerned about, what makes you anxious, notice what you feel in the body. What sensations are there and where do you feel them? Maybe it feels like a tightness in the chest or butterflies in the stomach or constriction in the throat or tension in the shoulders. Just notice what's there when fear is present. And if you can feel those sensations now, I'm going to ask you to imagine that you could breathe some space between you, the compassionate, curious, calm observer, and the aspect of you or the schema, the part of you that's carrying the anxiety, carrying the concerns or the fear. See if you can breathe some space between you and the part of you that's having these worries. We're just asking this part of yourself to separate out from you a little bit, not because we want to get rid of it, but because we really want to help it. We want to help you. And we can do that best if this part of you that's carrying the worries is just a little separate from you. And that aspect of yourself that carries the fear, you might get an image of it in your mind. Or you could even create one, imagine one, what the fearful aspect of yourself looks like, if it had a form, a visual image. And again, let it know we're not trying to get rid of it. We just want to help it. If you're struggling to separate those sensations or that part of yourself, just come back to a soft belly. Relax the effort of the inhale, relax the effort of the exhale, and re-anchor in the witnessing consciousness, the one that's aware of the fear being there, but isn't the fear, isn't blended with it, is somewhat distant from it, and can have compassion for its presence. The part of you that carries the fear needs your acknowledgement and compassion. A lot of its concerns are valid. Many of them are real. We just want to help you be in relationship to this fear in a healthy way. Soft belly, calm belly, merciful belly. And if you have an image of the part of you that carries the worry, carries the fear, the anxiety, the panic, whatever it is, just try to look on it through compassionate eyes, gentle eyes, merciful eyes. I want to invite you to see if you can take that part of yourself to a safe place, maybe a sacred or a healing place in your mind's eye. Maybe there's a place in the world that's real, that you feel really safe or did at one time. Or maybe it's a completely imagined and magical place. Picture a safe and healing place. And let's invite that scared part to go there. The one that gets anxious or nervous or afraid. Imagine that you, the calm, compassionate, merciful self, can take the fearful one to the safe and healing place. And once you get there, notice how it feels in the body. Is it easier to access soft belly? Just breathing with the part that's scared or anxious, taking its concerns to soft belly. Let this part know that you hear its concerns, but right now you're safe, right here, as the breath breathes itself in the body. You're safe in this inhale, safe in this exhale, in this moment. Soft belly. And whether you are able to picture a safe and healing place or not, you could take a moment to invite in some spiritual energy or spiritual guidance. Again, maybe a real figure that has brought you a feeling of comfort or safety in your life, Could be that kind of a guide, or it could be a purely spirit guide. Just open up that invitation. Maybe it's an ancestor or a divine one, or maybe just some light or a feeling of presence. Just invite guidance. Invite spirit to be present with you and the part of you that gets scared sometimes. Inside this soft belly breath, we have access to healing resources. In this merciful, soft belly, we can calm the fear response in the body and in the mind. Whatever's there, there's room for it in soft belly, expansive, vast, merciful belly. It can hold it all. All the worries, the concerns, the anxieties. There's room for it in the spacious softness of the abdomen. There's room for this part of you to relax a little. Right now, you're safe. So maybe be present with whatever spiritual energy or guidance showed up. Notice if it helps to soothe that anxious part or give you greater access to that calm, steady center, that vast, merciful place in a soft belly. Have mercy on you. It's okay to be afraid, but you're safe now. Soft belly. Layers upon layers, years upon years, dissolving into that soft belly. See if you can melt even just a little bit more of the hardening from the fear, from all the painful experiences in life. Have mercy on you in the safe place. Have mercy on you with a soft belly. Perhaps the part of yourself that carries the fear or the anxiety, perhaps you've noticed a change in the way that it appears in your mind's eye. While it's in the safe place with the spiritual guide or energy, and you caring about its concerns and helping it to regulate with soft belly. Maybe it's not calming down. Maybe it keeps sending you thoughts and reactions in the body. Whatever arises, just welcome it and melt it into a soft belly. Thich Nhat Hanh says that feelings come and go like clouds in a windy sky. Conscious breathing is my anchor. And soft belly is my path out of fear, out of pain. May we all come back time and time and time again to a soft and merciful belly. So you can imagine that the part of you that carries the fear or the anxiety, maybe it wants to stay in the safe place for a while. Maybe it wants to stay in the healing light or in the presence of the guide. That's okay. Or maybe you want to welcome it back into your body so that it can experience a soft belly with you. Whatever feels right. Just remember that you can return to the safe place. You can return to the soft belly anytime. It's always available to you. It is how you can regain a sense of control and stability. It is how you can transform anxiety into peace. But for now, let's take a deeper, fuller breath. Bring hands together at the heart in prayer pose or Anjali Mudra. And just take a moment to honor the part of you that has the tough job of carrying the concerns, the worries, the fears. Remembering that its job is only to protect you from danger. But it doesn't always know a real threat from a perceived one. So make a deal with it that you're going to take care of it. Whether that means you have to change a behavior, an action, like taking Facebook off your phone, or whether it means that you just have to do a soft belly practice throughout the day, taking its concerns and melting them into that merciful belly. But let it know you will take care of it. Rub the palms together, create a little heat, maybe some friction between the hands. Take the heated palms over the face. Gently brush over the top of the head, the back of the neck, maybe wipe down over the arms, the legs, the surface of the skin. And again, just feel your feet flat on the floor, your hips grounded. You are connected. Okay. So I hope you were able to feel a shift in the whole schema, the thoughts in the mind, the feelings and emotions and the feelings in the body. I hope you were able, through cultivating soft belly, to access that shift from sympathetic nervous system to parasympathetic response, the rest and digest response. It takes about 5 minutes is kind of the minimum. 15 is what science tells us it really takes to make that shift consciously. So if you're taking notes tonight, I'd just like to share a couple of things about what we did, maybe recap those things for you so that you can go back through them. So of course, we started with soft belly. And then as the fear was there, I asked you to breathe some space between you and that feeling in the body that you were having when you were thinking those scary thoughts or those anxious thoughts. And then through the breathing space, we moved an image of the fearful part into a safe or healing place or a sacred place where that part could rest and trust you to do the work of soft belly to take care of it. We invited in spiritual energy or guidance to be present with you and that part of you as you do the work of soft belly, or I should say the unwork, the undoing of the tension. But again, 15 minutes is what science tells us it really takes if we're in a very hyper or aroused state to then shift into a more calm rhythm. But those of us who've been practicing yoga for a while, like sometimes we can get it done a lot faster than that. 5 minutes of belly breathing and you might notice a difference. So I hope that you will use this practice and use it often. I'm doing soft belly every day right now myself. And what I do when I do the practice in a dedicated, concentrated period of time, I'm able to call it up throughout the day. So I notice when the belly hardens. I notice when I have a reaction to something that someone says or something that I read or something that I hear. I notice the belly hardening. And so I try to just drop it back down and melt it and have mercy on myself. So I hope that you will do this for yourself also in the next coming weeks. I'm kind of giving you a chance to kind of come back from wherever you were inside. So before we open up for questions, I did want to share one more thing with you for those of you taking notes. Now, this might not be something that happens to you, but it might happen to someone that you know, which is having a full-on panic attack. So if you've ever had panic attack yourself, or if you know anyone who's ever had a panic attack, this little 4-step cognitive behavioral therapy loop, you just kind of loop through these thoughts over and over again. They can cure people of panic disorder. 100% I can say with certainty, I have seen cure from this. So here's the steps. When the panic comes on, the first thing we want to do, or ask the person who's having it is to rate that anxiety on a scale of 1 to 10. 1 being it's very mild, hardly noticeable, and 10 being, oh my God, I have to get out of my body. I cannot even stand to be in this body right now. I feel like I'm going to die, right? That total flee. So it could be anywhere from there. So we rate it on a scale of 1 to 10. And then the next question is, okay, have you experienced that number before? And did you survive it? And the answer is always yes, because no one has ever died of a panic attack. Okay, a panic attack is your mind playing a trick on your body. Okay, so it's feels like danger because all of these things are happening in the sympathetic nervous system that I mentioned. Heart rate is accelerating, blood is rushing to the extremities, the pupils are dilating, all of these things are happening, and it feels like real danger, but it's not danger, it's discomfort. Okay, that's why no one has ever died of a panic attack, because it's the mind playing a trick on the body, and this is discomfort, not danger. It's also really important to remember that this hyper aroused panic state can only linger in the sympathetic nervous system for about 20 minutes. So again, it's just a response in the nervous system. It's your mind playing a trick on your body. This is discomfort, not danger. So you go through that language, those words verbatim, if you can remember them. That's why I'm telling you, write it down, and we're going to send you the replay of this video too, but those words verbatim. And then once you've gone through that loop a couple of times, you ask the person to rate that anxiety again on that scale of 1 to 10. Now it might have gone down, but it might also have gone up. And no matter what, that's okay, because we know that no one's ever died of a panic attack. And because it's your mind playing a trick on your body. And this is discomfort, not danger. And it can't last forever. And so we try to come into soft belly as best as we can. And we just keep rating it, and we just keep going through the loop. So I hope that this information has been useful to you. I hope you enjoyed the practice. All right, friends, all the very best. Namaste.